thing for kids. And I talked with people up in Maurice, or somehow if we can somehow encapsulate that experience, either get it on video or somehow make it into a program and just start chunking people up there to come experience it, I think it would have a huge impact.
Well, that's the plan of Liberty Village is you stay in a cabin for the night, and you go in the restaurant and you eat good homegrown food, non-genetically modified food, and you can see the benefits of a ranch. I mean, that's it's all, a lot of it is just publicity, making people want to come back to a ranch, set it up on the, so they've got a clear idea of how to do it. I don't know. Hopefully I'll do that. I appreciate. Tell me about the you put together a conference, and I understand from what I've been seeing that was pretty successful. Tell me about that. And now this is the second half. My guest is Kirk MacKinzie, defendruralamerica.com, and you've got a video out about what we can do. I mean, this is really my interest. I mean, because we are facing. Everybody has a kind of in their head, well, it can't happen here. It can't happen here. And I think it can, and I think it is.
I agree with you, it is. The Defend Rural America project was really born from a chance meeting I had with one of the ranchers. He was down here in the Bay Area, and I think that we just hit it off, developed mutual respect, and I had other things scheduled up there, so it led to me going up there, being at his ranch, and ending up doing a documentary film. I filmed, I think, 43 people while I was there, and turned that into a documentary, and then decided, well, let's go back and launch the documentary up in Siskiyou County. And then that kind of grew. The whole concept kept growing. The people came behind that whole vision and supported it and did a lot of the work there. It was a tremendous experience, and we ultimately ended up having 1,000 people. We had the sheriff's panel of 8 sheriffs that was put together by Sheriff John Lupe of Siskiyou County. And every single one of those got a standing ovation, as well as my documentary film. So the film was played to demonstrate the problem, and then we had the panel of sheriffs to talk about the solutions. And that panel of sheriffs went viral. The video from that was seen, I think now it's been seen by 35 to 40,000 people, was really what gave the impetus behind Sheriff Mack's vision to have an actual meeting. It's what really began to get the money rolling in to make his Las Vegas event a reality. And I think 4 of those 8 sheriffs became members of Sheriff Mack's board. So it really played a role in helping to launch his effort. But, intentionally, that whole thing was not just a presentation. We made it a goal to bring groups together, and I think we pretty much succeeded. The people up there that were helping to put this event together reached out. I think we ultimately had 50 different organizations or more that they contacted throughout north of California, southern Oregon, that got on board this whole project and supported it. People like the Klamath Bucket Brigade, and Tea Party groups. The Wardwicka Tea Party was inherently involved in this thing. Ready Tea Party was involved in this thing. The Water Users Association, PAL, all these groups. So, and then so the event was more than just a presentation. It was designed to begin the launch of really a unified effort up there, and hugely successful. The video is up on the internet. You can watch that. The presentation I gave is viewable, and as well as the sheriff's panel. You can go to defendruralamerica.com, and that information can be found on that website. And then as well, it's all part and parcel of the vision I have, based upon really a true understanding what's driving our world today. I put out now, I think it's 7 YouTube videos. Every one of them fits together. There's 3 on the monetary system, there's 3 under the How to Take Our Country Back series, and now there's the documentary film on Siskiyou County. And there's a plan. I've laid it out. If you go to the Defend Rural America website and you click the Get Involved page, there's a 5-point plan, and it's right there.
Tell me about it. Tell us what it is. Tell us what it is. We'll go look. We've got link. I've got links to the site here, but while I'm getting another cup of coffee, you can tell me about that.
Sure. Well, basically, the first thing is you have to, the basis of any successful effort in organizing is communication. So you've got to connect. You've got to connect into the communication stream and be part of that. So step one is, join the parade here. So you can sign up for my newsletter. You can go ahead and email me. You can join the Facebook page. You can follow us on Twitter. You can go to YouTube and make sure you know where the YouTube channels are. So basically, number one is hook up with the program. Two is skip the news hour for one night and instead watch the documentary on Siskiyou County. I mean, I think that's going to be an eye-opener for most people. Then three is discover the bigger picture. So it's how to get a further deepening of your education. And there's videos there, and then there's a book on the unfinished agenda, the citizens' policy to environmental issues. So it's kind of, step three is more knowledge. And then step four is choosing to make a difference and learn how to get involved. And so there are educational things on the website that are part of the strategy to win. So you need to learn about consultation, you need to learn about coordination, the Equal Access to Justice Act, the Environmental Species Act. Understand what those are. I will shortly be adding a link so that it takes you to the constitutional. I believe the constitutional county is going to be a pivotal part of this. So, and then step five is real simple. Once you've got it and you're on board, get everybody you know to do the same thing. It's all laid out there. It's the videos pretty much tell you what to do, and the videos cover from strategy, the bigger picture, and understand the world at large, down to strategy, down to tactics. We talk about the moral issues involved. We talk about the underlying principles behind what you're trying to accomplish and what drives, what are the principles and values that drive our desire to have liberty and drive our desire to have the kind of government we want to have with a limited central government. It's all there.
I helped put an event on for the sheriff over in Cochise County, Sheriff Larry Deaver, who's doing the same thing as the Siskiyou. I had that meeting up in Siskiyou up on my website for a while, and there's not much we can do. Everybody has this tendency to feel kind of hopeless because, man, there's just nothing we can do. The Rothschilds own the world, the oil companies own the world. Nothing we can do. But if you take it back down to a local level and start working on making people more independent, more productive, and kick these communist bureaucrats out, you got a shot. If you take it back. That's what I really like about what Richard Mack's doing. If the sheriff's behind you and we're kicking the government out here, no, you can't come on my farm. They've done that. They came out. Well, we need to put a meter on your well. You need to get shot. If you try to put a meter on my well, I'll shoot your ass. You're on my property. Get off. I went to. They wanted to extend zoning 30 miles from town. I said, wait a minute. What communist wrote this? Some little guy and some little lawyer in a suit and tie sitting beside me go, well, I wrote that. What are you trying to do? Get people killed? You're going to come out and tell the farmers and ranchers who've been out here for 100 years how to operate their spread? No, that ain't going to happen. So the county voted it out. One person standing up. They rule by consensus, Kirk. They come up with the whole plan. They get up and tell you what the plan is, and if you don't raise your voice and say, wait a minute, that sucks. Why would we go for that? Then you're part of the consensus, and they just add you. They just figure you're along for the ride. You're in there.
Yeah, that's true. They do that. That's true. Well, I think that the empowering part of all this is if you can get people back to understanding some basic information, it's really invigorating. I think part of it is the understanding the original premises behind our government and the Constitution, understanding the Constitution and the Bill of Rights in its original sense. It's extremely empowering. And once people understand it and they commit to it and they get their elected representatives in the counties to commit to it, there's no place you can't go. I mean, once you understand that, for example, a lot of people refer to the land as federal land. It's not. The feds do not own all these lands. They cannot, by the Constitution, do so. They are joint, at best case, if there even is a federal jurisdiction, they are joint jurisdiction. And there's nothing they can do on public lands without the consent and improvement and involvement of the local people. And the people don't understand that. So they have these rights. It's called, this whole idea of consultation and coordination, and you can stop them in their tracks. You can say, no, this is my county, and we're not going to do that. Sheriff Mack won the Supreme Court decision, and in clear terms it says not only can the federal government not dictate to the states and force it to do any of the federal programs, but they can't circumvent the state governments and go around and start dictating to the individual elected representatives like sheriffs. So they were trying to get the sheriffs across the nation to support the Brady bill, coming in like they do, saying, okay, now you got to enforce this. And Sheriff Mack says, no, I don't have any duty to do that. And he won. The Supreme Court stood behind him and says, federal government cannot dictate to the local governments. And their jurisdiction is very limited. And actually is now being questioned up in Oregon, where I think, like most western states, 2/3 of the state is considered to be, quote, federal land. It turns out federal land is defined by the Constitution, as a square mile here for a post office or something, a munitions plant or an armory, and only with the consent of the state. And this idea that somehow these public lands and these forests belong to the federal government is absolutely false.
Let me
just finish.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
That's been exposed by Sheriff Gil Gilbertson. He's written an excellent white paper. It's 13 pages long. That's also available on the Defend Rural America website if you click the tab Public Lands. So once people begin to understand that they have a lot more power than they thought and ability to push back, and that the federal government has a lot less power than we have been, they like to intimidate us, but when it comes push to shove, they don't have these powers. I think there's a great amount of, good that happens, and I think that it's a fight. There's no question it's a fight. But, this is a fight we can win without guns if we're smart.
What does the BLM, what role is the BLM playing right now? And, the whole, the Indian tribes are kind of in an uproar, too. I mean, the agencies that are supposed to be protecting them and helping them aren't. The agencies that are supposed to be taking care of Americans aren't. It's like James Forrestal said to McCarthy one time, they're not just stupid. Consistency is not the mark of stupidity. If they were just stupid occasionally, they'd make a mistake in our favor.
Right.
Now, in my opinion here, this is just my opinion, folks, keep this in mind, I think that we ought to, that the whole Congress and the Senate need to be rounded up and basically tried for treason for these laws that they've been passed and that are in violation of our Constitution. Whether that's going to happen now, we don't even know. We can't even get an illegal alien out of the White House. The sheriff, again, the Sheriff Joe Arpaio, one of the most attacked people in the country, has had all of his investigators from his sheriff's department, cold case file, state that Obama's an illegal alien. His birth certificate is a forgery. He's a criminal. Now, we got any congressman out there that voted for the suspension of posse comitatus for the National Defense Authorization Act. They're criminals, in my opinion. What about yours?
I agree with you. I think that it's sad to me that the media, which is all bought and paid for and owned as well, does things like continually diss or ignore Ron Paul. I mean, if really people wanted to have any shot at getting our country back, we should be electing Ron Paul. It's a tragedy we're not taking advantage of this opportunity. That's absolutely a tragedy. This is the first person we've had as an opportunity in the last 100 years to actually stand up against these central bankers and push back, and who is prepared to radically or reduce the size of this federal government back to its original type footprint. And the fact that we're not electing him is a crime. So the people are guilty of this as well. And whether it's ignorance or we've gotten so used to having our hands out, or I don't know what the deal is, or media making always trying to downplay Ron Paul or whatever else. But once you understand the monetary system and you understand the people behind this or behind it all and what empowers them in this monetary system, you begin to realize the absolute critical need to take away the power to print money from these people. Otherwise, we'll never win. There is no win if we don't take back our money.
You know, what about, let me ask you about, what about local currency? Ithaca hours comes to mind. You heard about Ithaca hours?
About what is it?
Ithaca hours. Ithaca, New York started issuing their own currency, and everybody in town took it. Everybody in town traded it. It's called Ithaca.
I'm not aware of that. Tell me more. I'd like to know.
Just Google Ithaca hours. They had their own alternative currency system, and it was basically you work for an hour, you know, that was worth $10. That was so they had it set up like that, and they did, and everybody in town started taking it, so they didn't even use it, you know. And I would suggest the same thing for Liberty Villages, you know.
Well, I think that trying to get local currency in one way or another is absolutely key, and a lot of these rural communities do have, you know, amounts of gold or silver, particularly up in, you know, Nevada, California, Oregon, Idaho, Utah. And I think that they're being denied the ability to print anything that has a denomination in dollars, which is crazy because the dollar is defined to be 371 1/4 grains of pure silver mixed 90%, 10% with copper, and that's a dollar. It's not a piece of paper. It's not a bank credit. It's a piece of silver. But they want to deny people the ability to actually create dollars. I think it's a tragedy. But what they can do is they can denominate them in ounces or grains, you know. And so you can have 10, 25, and 100s, but they all are fractions, say, of an ounce. And that cannot be considered to be counterfeit. And I really believe that those communities up there should do that. I think the state government should take the lead. I believe a lot of these rural states should start to build armories. They should start to build a munitions plant. I think they need to go start developing a currency and putting it out there. I think that they need to be awakened. And I think that we're seeing more and more states moving that direction, and if we have constitutional counties in these rural communities and we start moving them forward, they'll start moving their states forward, and pretty soon you look at the map and you realize that the rural states, the interior states, are easily 2/3 of the states and pretty close to 3/4 to the point where we can actually control, you know, constitutional amendments and that are actually going to work. So I believe that's the battleground that's left to us. I personally believe that if you pull out a political map and you look at the election of president, you know, all of the coastal states are blue, all the interior states are red, and if you take a state like California and look at it county by county, it's all the counties along the coast that are blue and the interior that are red. It's because of the high immigration, people coming in with their hands out, and we have a welfare state all set up to give them privileges and preferences even over Americans under this, quote, Affirmative Racism Act. So, you know, I think that the fight is, the battleground that's left to us where we can actually make a difference, I believe, is in these rural communities. That's where my conclusion is, and that's where I'm going.
Well, I certainly appreciate that. I appreciate. Are you reaching the people? You know, I've got a lot of videos up, and this one will be up on YouTube. You'll be able to go to my Clay Douglas on my YouTube channel and download the show. I think it's very important. I think you're going in the right direction. That's why we've got links up to your site. If you let people, anybody on your website, know about this show, well, I'll keep trying to get the information out. You know, I've had people over and over, well, and what am I doing wrong? Am I doing something wrong here? You know, my friend that's going to be on my show next week, he's the dean of Timothy Bible College. He said, you're not doing anything wrong. You're telling people the truth about what's happening. You've got solutions here, you know, and you know, I've got guests like you coming on. If we start working together for this direction, just basically it's the rights of the individual. Our Constitution takes care of you, whatever religion you want. You want to beat your head against that Wailing Wall, or you want to stick your nose in sand in your ass up in the air, you know, 2 or 3 times a day. Constitution protects you. You want to get on your knees and pray, the Constitution protects you. You know, let's, you know, if we support our rights as individuals and work together in our counties and our communities and especially in our rural areas, government wants it. The government wants it. Obama wants your land. He wants control of it. He wants you to be subservient, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think not only Obama, but I think that the central bankers who are behind all this, they're the Wizards of Oz. They're the people who created the United Nations. They're the ones that are behind the screen pulling all the levers. They are. I mean, we have to come to that realization. That's why I wrote the book, Money, Defending Your Prosperity, to make people aware how this system is actually sucking the prosperity out of your very life in our country. And what we can do about that.
You mean we're not supposed to have to pay for our homes 3 times in over 30 years?
Yeah, exactly. And then you pay for it again when you die, because they then say that the increase in the value is taxable income, but in fact the increase is nothing more than devaluation of the currency. Death tax is nothing more than a tax on the inflation. And I give an example of that in the book. There's a home here in Bay Area, $30,000 when it was built in the 50s, maybe sells for $1.5 million today. And so they say, well, gee, that's $1,470,000 worth of long-term capital gains. But if you do it in gold, and you measure the value of the price of the home, $30,000 in gold when it was built, today it's worth about $47,000 in gold. In other words, when you measure things, the value of things, anything real, whether it's Snickers bars, a pound of wheat, or a bushel of wheat, or an ounce of silver, however you want to measure it, you realize that the value of things is relatively stable. It's the currency that's plunging, and because the currency plunges, you need more of it to buy something. That's inflation. Inflation is not just the increase of prices, it's the increased volume of currency, paper floating around, chasing the same number of goods. The value of the currency plummets. And so here they come back and say, you should be paying a long-term capital gain on $17,000. They're saying we want long-term capital gains of $1,470,000. When people begin to understand the fraudulent nature of this system and how it's destroying their prosperity and the chances for their children and their grandchildren to live with liberty, my hope has been that they begin to start becoming a lot smarter in how they vote. Because until the people get it, I don't think we're going to make those changes. So
you just brought up another problem here. I have been involved in the presidential campaigns. 1996, I was working with a president, the first Republican to sign up for the presidency, and everywhere we went, every time Charles Collins got up on stage to tell you that we could buy back the Federal Reserve, we could stop this fraudulent money system, every cameraman on stage turned the cameras off.
You have to forget the mainstream media. I personally continue to tell people, just turn off the news every night. I mean, it's, what haven't you heard on it before? They have the same themes, and just turn it off, and go watch a YouTube video, or go read a book. I mean, the information is there. People like myself have spent enormous amount of time, huge years, studying these things and digested it down to a book or a YouTube video, synthesize that for you. The value content of this information is, 100 times more, 1,000 times more than the value content of watching a TV show. Just turn off the TV for an hour or so a night for the next month and start to learn the world, and things could change.
When I helped start the militia, when we had meetings, what I told the people that were volunteering for the militia, volunteering for some training, we trained them, that's all, just trained them on how to use their weapons, how to take care of it. And I told them, I said, you need to take your weapon out, clean it, load it, shoot the TV, and you'd be a lot better off.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Let me do a quick little commercial here. You made a comment. And I just put this up on my website. So let me do this.
One is a serial hypocrite who lobbied for Freddie Mac before the housing crisis and for the individual mandate before Obamacare. Another, a counterfeit conservative who opposes right to work, massively increased spending, and funded Planned Parenthood. Finally, a flip-flopper who's been on all sides, supported TARP bailouts, and provided the blueprint for Obamacare. 3 men, 1 vision, more big government, more mandates, less freedom. One man stands apart, ready to deliver real change, voting against every tax increase and every unbalanced budget every time. A real plan to cut $1 trillion year one and to balance the budget in 3. Pro-life, pro-liberty, guided by faith and principle. Ron Paul, the one who will restore America now.
I'm Ron Paul, and I approve this message.
All right, had to do that. Had to do that for Ron Paul. I've known Ron for a long time. He's been subscribing to my magazine for years and years and years. He got a copy every year for about 10 years. So, and you know, he may not be perfect, but none of us are they? Are we?
No, I don't think so.
Now, okay. I've got everything up here. Kirk MacKinzie, thank you for being with me. DefendRuralAmerica.com, SilentNoMorePublications.com. And again, folks, thanks for listening. I need donations. I need to sell some books. You need to get this show out to as many people as you can. Tell them about freeamerican.com. Tell them about Blog TV. Tell them about all. Just send them to freeamerican.com. Links are there for everybody, including Kirk MacKinzie. Thank you, Kirk.
Thank you very much.
All right, folks.
Call record has been completed.
All right, thanks, Kirk.
Same, thank you very much. Hope it'll do some good.
All right, sure.
Okay, have a good day.
Yeah, he's got websites up, stuff like that. Be right back, folks. Gotta walk the dog. See you in a little bit. Are they out? Bandit, where are you? Hang on, watch them for me for a second. Don't let them go too far.